But like I said, that was sometime in the 70s.
Right, right. Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to the legal thing, like I said, there's a lot of different laws here in Canada.
Sure, sure. And
Because I know that you can't legally defend your property for some reason.
which is interesting because here in most states, I don't think there's a state because that would be a state law here in the U.S. I think it's across all 50 states that you can legally defend your property. Now,
Well,
there might be different degrees to the extent to which you can defend it, but still you have the right to defend it, and I believe that is a state law.
actually, that happened here. I was going to say for that, it happened again. It happened in Saskatchewan where, well, where someone actually shot a drunk native trying to steal an ATV. So now that guy's in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that happened. Something else happened recently too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was it was in Ontario. Someone actually, he actually wiped some guy. There's a lot of anti. Well, I don't know about the U.S., but here in Canada, there's a fair bit of anti-Muslim sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, that's not going to work. I'll fix it later. Anyway, what happened was that some guy, I don't know who, he actually wiped out an entire family. He ran them over and killed them.
Okay, I think I remember hearing the story.
Just,
Yeah, yeah.
And then there was the other fellow, but you know, the guy's entire family died in a car crash.
Yeah.
Caused by a drunk driver.
Mm-hmm.
What else was there? Anyway, like I said, they're all, as I said, like I said, as I was saying, oh yeah, also more recently because of the whole. I know there's been some flap about something called residential schools.
Okay.
What happened was recently is that a group of people were protesting that here in my city, and they went into a local government property, and they yanked two statues down. You can find for that on YouTube, and they're for a channel belongs to something called Inside Edition.
Okay. Now, some of these cases, these that you're bringing up, would all of these come under the jurisdiction of provincial laws, or would they come under the
Well,
federal laws?
well, the thing about well, again, I mean, unfortunately, every province has different, slightly different laws regarding drunk driving. But
Okay.
it's illegal. It's illegal across the board.
Right. Right.
Although here in Manitoba, they have the anytime a person even gets one conviction of DUI,
Right.
DWI, same thing.
Yeah.
They have to put a breathalyzer transmission into their vehicle.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Some states do that here in the U.S. as well. It's not blanket across the board, but there are some states that will implement that. In fact, even it's broken down. Some counties in some states will do it, and others won't. So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I agree with that, but at the same time, that's another thing to fail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, well, as years progress, it'll, you can blow into it, right, and be perfectly clean, and yet the vehicle still won't start.
Okay. All right. So that's a failure of the device, and
yeah, that's true.
And if you're doing your due diligence, you want the doggone thing to work. Okay, I'm clean, I'm sober, I know. Start up, damn it! I got to go to work.
There's the other thing about at one point in time, this, my Canadian city was Canada's car theft capital. People were stealing cars all the time.
Okay.
So what they did is on high-risk vehicles, they mandated a kind of like an immobilizer.
Okay.
And people, well, this is something my twin brother can relate. I'm not going to open the door, but he's right through there.
All right.
Anyway, see, he used to volunteer at a automotive shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he had like in 1 week, I think he had like 3 or 4 no start comes in.
All right.
And as soon as they took the the aftermarket immobilizer out,
Yeah.
the vehicle started up, no problem.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
I said, unfortunately, um, a company called Manitoba Public Insurance kind of has a monopoly on that. So they mandated it.
Okay.
I remember the other one where what did they say? Or some guys, they said, your vehicle cannot be insured without an immobilizer, right? The guy was fighting MPI about that. He said the vehicle wouldn't start when he had it in or
Mm-hmm.
installed. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he took it out and he informed MPI about it. But then as soon as they learned of that, said they canceled the policy. So they're effectively forcing the guy to have it, whether he wants it or not.
Right.
Which is, ridiculous.
Now, this particular person, though, had they done served their sentence, in other words, the amount of time that he was supposed to use an immobilizer, are you saying that that's something that if you get one conviction, you always have to have one for as long as you're?
No.
Okay, all right.
You're confusing it. See, for the immobilizer, that's just to prevent car theft.
Okay, all right.
See,
I didn't realize we made that
transition.
But anyway, go ahead.
The breathalyzer transmission, I think they're supposed to have that for the duration of as long as they own the vehicle.
Okay.
If they sell it to somebody else, then it could be removed. All right.
Okay. So this device that's supposed to prevent auto theft, that's something that sounds like this insurance company is forcing down the throats of residents.
Well, that's what
in order to profit themselves.
Well, that's true. Yeah. As I said, it would. Well, there is such a thing as factory immobilizers now too.
Okay. Yeah.
And that helps as well.
Sure. And just how bad is the problem with auto theft?
Well,
there
at one point in time, like I said, Winnipeg, Canada was Canada's car theft capital.
Sure.
And that's
in terms of.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you in terms of, like, say, raw numbers or percentages. What are we talking about per year? How many cars were being stolen?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
I think at one point in time they were. I think it was about maybe. I think it was like 20 cars stolen a month.
20 cars a month. Okay. Yeah.
And there were some high risk targets too.
Sure.
So they went, as I said, they went for the high risk stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, another way to combat car theft was to for the convicted felons to wear one of those ankle bracelets.
Right.
Although I heard stories of people that have filed them off. I was going to sit, again, with my twin brother and I were yakking about it, but saying in order to combat that, you put you strategically embed the tracking device, in their skin.
Okay.
Although that did bring up a problem, because you know how the human body is, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would they automatically eject foreign things.
Right.
Well, normally, because I have heard of conditions where people will. Well, that explains why people with organ transplant have to be taking all them pills and stuff.
Sure. Excuse me.
So, have heard of autoimmune diseases where they're the body attacks itself.
Sure.
So that's, and I don't know if there's pills for that. But anyway, getting back to the point. See, that was an issue. Although, that's another thing. I don't know about the U.S., but here in Canada, people can't physically discipline their kids anymore.
Again, that's something that is on the state level. So
Well, here in,
but there also may be some federal laws that
well, I know,
that
well,
cover
like I
that.
said,
But for the most
here
part,
in,
it's a state law. It would be a
like I
state law.
said, I mean, it's, well, again, I mean, it's, like what's that called again? Oh yeah, the actions of a few, as it were.
Hmm.
They ruin things for everybody. Like people, they go too far.
Yeah, yeah.
And get the, I remember that before, where somebody actually got arrested for child abuse.
Hmm. Hmm.
That was years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, oh, what else? Oh yeah, that happened in 2008, where someone was actually, believe it or not, uh, one. There was a bus murder here in my province back in 2008,
Okay.
where there was a guy literally took someone else's head off. And here's the thing: they found out later the guy had schizophrenia and was declared not criminally responsible. And now because he legally changed his name, he changed his name. He's actually got a clean slate now, which is very
That's very interesting. I don't know, and I could be wrong because I would need to research that more. I don't think something like that would happen in the U.S.
but
That if you can wipe the slate clean by changing your name.
yeah, I know.
Yeah. Now is that a provincial law or is that a federal law? I'm
Um,
curious.
I'm not sure
Yeah,
actually.
I that would be something interesting to research because I wasn't expecting to hear anything like that. Okay, I'm gonna go rob these banks, and I don't care if I kill anybody. I'm just gonna take my loot and change my name and move to British Columbia,
Well,
or move to
like
British
I said,
Columbia
he's
first and then change my name.
last time last time I checked, the guy was in. He's a permanent resident of a mental health facility.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Boy, yeah,
Actually, speaking of America, the most recent thing I heard was with a movie theater shooter.
yeah.
He's in jail for life.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think he got like, well, multiple life sentences.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, because I remember, what is that dude? Forgotten the guy's name. Some guy actually got 200 years in prison just for shooting his sister in the butt with a shotgun.
Hmm.
I mean, that's overdoing it. But then again, there is such a thing as going too far as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing that in the U.S. And I don't know that it's any different in Canada, but 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 the rationale behind the sentencing for crimes, uh, because we've for the most part have moved away from the death penalty, which was like kind of a knee jerk reaction to almost
Mm,
every murder conviction for the longest time here. And we were one of the last countries in the world to abolish or at least reduce the use of the death penalty because it's not completely abolished. Some states still have it.
hmm
Um, it's the reaction to that has been to impose longer sentences for crimes and use what they call special circumstances to
hmm
justify a 200-year sentence for a particularly heinous crime. you know and that's the reason why you see those kinds of sentences because the thing is there's a parole system where you can be
hmm
convicted for a murder and convicted to life in prison, but
hmm
because or you can be you could be sentenced to say 100 years in prison, but you can be eligible for parole within say 10 to 15 years or maybe even a shorter time than that. And sometimes if you do your due diligence and you get cited for good behavior, you're a model prisoner, that can make you they can make the courts look upon you more favorably, or the penal system, and you're more likely to possibly be considered uh, eligible, and you may be able to get it unless in your hearings there is an outcry against releasing you because because maybe the victim's family or someone in society feels that you're still a risk to the society at large. So, because I think it boggles people's minds that people like Charles Manson every couple of years would be up before a parole hearing to see if he could be eligible for parole. And here's someone who led this cult that committed a series of gruesome murders. And it's like, well, how come this guy is, being considered for parole? Shouldn't he have been put in the gas chamber? Well,
they don't. As far as I know, America has never actually gassed criminals.
Yes, they have. Yeah.
Well, I have to look into that.
There have been, yes. The gas chamber was used in California.
Like I said,
on a number of occasions.
I think it's some states had firing squads.
Yes, they did. And until even the 1980s or maybe into the 90s, there are a couple of Western states that still use firing squads.
And like I said, some states used hanging.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they're trying to. Well, not that it happens very often, but they're starting to standardize on lethal injection now.
Yeah, pretty much. That seems to be what's used most everywhere.
That's another one I realize. Electric chair.
Oh yeah, good old Illinois electric chair.
Well,
yeah,
they don't do that. I've heard they're not doing that anymore.
No, they're not. In fact, I believe there was a relatively recent governor. Unfortunately, I lost my connection with Reddy. Otherwise, I could ask her if she remembered when Illinois went away from the death penalty altogether. It hasn't been abolished, but there was a governor who put a moratorium on the death penalty, and that moratorium has not been, lifted. So,
to be honest, I think anytime Canada needed to execute a person, it was by hanging. Although they haven't done that for some. Actually, I heard. I think. Well, okay. I could be wrong about this, but they haven't actually hung their criminals since about sometime in the early to mid 1960s.
Okay, so it's been a long time since. And now is that an execution for murder in general?
Well, I believe so.
Or just hanging?
Well, I know that the Canadian province of Manitoba hung their founder for treason.
Okay.
Although he's since been exonerated.
A lot of good that does them now.
See, at the time,
yeah.
the guy was. We have heard of something called Métis, right?
No. What is it?
Again, that was a race of people, right? That had they had a European, they had a European side and an Aboriginal side.
Okay.
Right? I can't. Again, the history is, very, very long.
All right.
And I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah. But, no, we're holding up Brandon. His show's supposed to have started. Yeah.
See, again, the guy's name was Louis Riel, right?
Okay.
He was a founding father of our Canadian province.
All right.
So because of that, he was exonerated. Although I think it was like 200 years after he died. But again, you have to understand. See, this is, English colonialist,
Okay.
I know, because my dad's was kind of still, in that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were to hear some of the stuff that came out of his mouth, I mean, you'd be pretty, excuse my language, you'd be pissed off.
Okay.
But then again, it was traditional English, so they were, as I said, they didn't stop being colonialist until sometime into the 1960s. But even then, there are some diehards.
Sure. You're always going to have those.
As I said, I mean.